We will be bringing you a much more high quality version of the episode next week. We're just going to do a quick introduction as it is our first episode, although many of you probably will know us. My name is Russell Garges, and as far as teams I'm going to be talking about and cheering for on this podcast and in real life, I'm a big Panthers fan, Vanderbilt Commodores fan, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Chicago Cubs as well. Killian?
Thank you, Russ, for that. My name is Killian Kramer, LSU fan, and then all things Philly sports, so Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, and Phillies. And yeah, excited for the stream.
Excited to be here, boys. My name is Colin Adams, and I am a Louisville fan. I also support teams which Louisville players have gone to, such as Ravens, Cavs, all of that. So, go Cards.
All right. Let's just kick it off. We're going to start talking a little bit NBA. As the college football and professional football season winds down, we will be doing more NBA-based predictions, content, but for now, we're just going to talk about the big headlines. Let's go right into the James Harden trade. All right, what do we think here, boys?
You know, it was just a bad look for both sides. I think Harden's done this throughout his career, but he wants to be the guy, and it wasn't going to be a good fit anymore in Philly. So I think it's a good job on both sides, just for Philly getting him out of there, because it was not going to end well. I mean, he was holding out of games. And then for the Clippers, I don't know if I like the deal. You got 4 ball-dominant players with the addition of Harden. You got Harden, Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi on the same team. I don't really know how that's going to fit. I mean, on paper, that looks really good, but we just saw this with the Nets. I don't know how well it's going to gel. But I think it's a decent move for both sides. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And then for the Sixers, I think another reason why it's good is because Maxi's emerging as a rising star. I think he can fill that role pretty soon. And then Harden's just aging. So I think it's a decent deal for both sides.
I completely agree with that, although I don't believe that the Clippers are going to gain much from it. With their lineup, it's a lineup prone to injuries pretty frequently. I believe that Harden will be an asset to the team, but as we saw with the Lakers game the other night, it's not going to make much of a difference in the long run.
I think I'm going to have to disagree here. I mean, when you say 4 ball-dominant players, I think Westbrook's transitioned his game into being an off-the-bench kind of like dog for the Clippers, but I do think they lose a lot of necessary depth that will be essential for them going on into a title run. And then for me, Killian, I'm sorry, but the Sixers title window to me is very much so closed now without having that second superstar, unless you can get somebody in free agency. But I mean, looking at this next crop of players, it doesn't look like you're going to have much. I don't know. I just do not see that happening. But definitely a bad look for both sides. Yeah. Clippers gain a superstar who's going to be able to pass and shoot the ball pretty much better than anyone on their current lineup, but then that depth pretty essential if you're going to make a title run. Saw that with the Heat last year. Okay, NFL trade deadline. What are we thinking? Reactions, winners, losers. What are we thinking, boys?
Biggest winner? Gotta go with probably the Niners. You know, getting Chase Young for a 3rd-round pick, adding to that already incredible defense. And then my second pick would be the Eagles because we did help get good pickup in Kevin Byard for pretty little. And then that's helping out the secondary. But I'd probably say the Niners over the Eagles for the winner trade deadline. And then the loser, I'd have the Titans because, you know, Will Levis was coming into, well, I guess it was after trade deadline. But Will Levis, DeAndre Hopkins, the offense is starting to figure things out, and you're trading away one of your defensive stars. It's just like they're stuck in between a rebuild and kind of contending. It's weird, and I think that they kind of screwed themselves over with the Kevin Byard trade. So I'd say they're the biggest loser.
Yeah, I agree with you on the 49ers take. I feel like Chase Young will make a huge piece for the 49ers defense. Definitely take some of that pressure off of Nick Bosa on the line of being their leading pass rusher. On the other hand, I wish the Panthers could have done more. I feel like they could have definitely gone out and got some big assets that would have helped turn their team around this season. And I feel like it was also a lot of pressure on them to go out and definitely make those moves over the trade deadline. I just feel like we didn't really see anything from them. And I think overall, I don't think there was really any notable trades that would help anyone become a contender. nothing kind of that screamed at me over this trade deadline.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Colin. Especially after the Christian McCaffrey and the trade up to go get Bryce Young. Panthers do not have the draft capital necessary to make a move on someone. It would just set them farther back in what is obviously a rebuild around this new coaching staff with Frank Reich. And a deal that moves the needle for me is Bills picking up Rasal Douglas from the Packers to get a top 10 cornerback in the National Football League to go along with this defense that's already, proved to be a little bit shaky. But now, I mean, you've got somebody who's going to be able to at least sort of keep up with Tyreek Hill later in the year. That's huge. And I think the biggest loser at this deadline has to be the Dolphins. All right? Bills obviously get Rasal Douglas, but then the Patriots also get J.C. Jackson too. That might not be in effect this year as the Patriots aren't a very good ball club. We've seen that week after week. But J.C. Jackson is an elite cornerback, and he's somebody who already knows that defense. He's going to be able to fit right in. If Tua's not snapping in some of the cold weather, if he's not getting to it, we could see J.C. Jackson take advantage of a few things that he saw last year and, really make an impact. Maybe Dolphins drop a game to the Patriots later in the year. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but, down the line, I think that trade's going to be huge for keeping them contained. But I overall agree. Not many trades really move the needle for me. And then one thing that we have to talk about right now, Josh Dobbs, Vikings.
Yeah.
Do we think that this is enough to get them in the playoffs?
No.
I don't.
Even with even Kirk Cousins, the Vikings at best were 500 this year. And Cousins was playing really well. Dobbs had some good games to start. Yeah, Cardinals obviously had that Cowboys win, but Dobbs has kind of come back to earth. Played like himself as of late. I don't think it will be enough. I mean, the Vikings will miss the playoffs, even in a weak NFC North this year.
Here's my take on this. I think if Dobbs was installed in the offense right now, then they could go out and do something. Because to me, he's proved that he's been a very accurate passer around a bad O-line. And very, very limited weapons. I mean, Marquise Brown he's good, don't get me wrong, but he's no wide receiver one in my book. And then Zach Ertz as well. He's very much so past his prime. But for me, I mean, I just think they're going to drop too many games with the rookie. It's going to be too hard to really come back from this deficit. I don't know what you're thinking, Colin.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree on your point that you made about if he was put into the offense right now and he had already gotten comfortable in his situation. I feel like then we're talking about a different story. I think Dobbs is a solid quarterback, but at the end of the day, I do agree at best 500 team. I don't see them making the playoffs.
All right. We're going to do two quick little segments before we get into our college football.
That's right.
Now, we're just going to give a quick congratulations to the Texas Rangers, World Series champions. Not much to say about this World Series, in my opinion. I feel like it was actually really boring.
I agree.
No close games, which really disappointed me. 5-game series, Diamondbacks didn't put up much of a fight except for, obviously, their one win. But, I mean, just overall, a very, very disappointing series. And then you don't have your big stars playing in the series as well. Max Scherzer, no Garcia, and then obviously from early in the year, no DeGrom. That's pretty obvious, but still, having probably the three biggest names at this time in that series not play, I think that was a huge detriment to what was, in my opinion, a really good MLB season with the new rule changes. I thought it was very entertaining. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that's a testament to the Rangers too. They close out the series they close out the year without DeGrom. And then they close out the series without Scherzer or Garcia. Garcia being their main contributor on offense. They had other guys step up like Seager. So that was really impressive. But yeah, after the first two games, Diamondbacks came back game 2, got the win. Game 1 was exciting. Thought the series was going to be really good, and then Texas just closed it out in 3 boring games. So just kind of a disappointing end to a great season.
Yeah. Hopefully we can see some improvements overall in the playoff play next season. I thought the playoffs in general weren't very good, but congrats to MLB on having a amazing season. All right, next we're going to transition into a quick Rest in peace to Bobby Knight,
Yes.
legendary head basketball coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. He was controversial, yes, but he won games as well. He went to the Final Four and coached in it 5 times. 1-time champion as a player, 3-time champion as a coach. Icon in South Bend, rebuilt the reputation. Of course, rest in peace to Bobby Knight. Just a quick fun fact before we move on. My grandfather was at Indiana when Bobby Knight started coaching, and then Colin's parents.
Yeah, my mom was attending the school for her master's when all the controversy was going on on campus, when he was getting fired, the riots and everything. So yeah, pretty cool little trivia fact.
Yeah, rest in peace, Bobby Knight. Obviously, one of the greatest legends in college sports in general. Now, speaking of college sports, the college football playoff rankings came out this week.
Mm-hmm.
What are we thinking? We got an overrated team. We got an underrated team.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
What are we thinking?
Look, just my biggest overrated team was Ohio State. Number 1, really. Come on, committee. Like, they've been squeaking by. I know they just had a good win versus Penn State, but it was an 8-point win. Penn State is not as good as people think they are. I think they're overrated again. Penn State does not have an offense. They have a great defense, though. And then Ohio State's just been squeaking by all season. That offense is not legit. They have Marvin Harrison, but McCord is not. He's not a solid quarterback. Not at least this year. And yeah, they've just been squeaking by all year, and I certainly don't think they should be number 1. I think Michigan's over them. Should be over them. Michigan will prove that when they play. But yeah, number 1, I think is a little bit absurd. And then for underrated, I was gonna put to Colin's liking. Number 13, Louisville. They've just been playing really well. Been having some good quality wins coming off that Duke win. The one hiccup was the Pitt loss, but besides that, they've been looking really solid all season. I think people are really underrating them, and they can do some serious damage in the ACC and contend with Florida State for that conference and potentially for a national championship.
I mean, of course, I 100% agree with that. However, I do believe Florida State is the most overrated team in the most recent college football playoff rankings. Just snuck by Clemson in overtime, also played close at Boston College. Now, of course, you could say hiccup games as they are 8-0, but I just don't think that Jordan Travis, when facing a strong defense, whether that's in the ACC championship against Louisville or in the college football playoffs, if they do get in, I don't see him being able to get anything done. I mean, 18 touchdowns to 2 interceptions is impressive, but again, like I mentioned, that is against ACC defenses. Now, most underrated, I would have to go with Tulane, 7-1, solid season so far. 1 loss to Ole Miss without their quarterback. Yeah, without their quarterback, I think Tulane is going to contest and get that at-large bid for a New Year's Six bowl. I don't see Air Force getting it.
Well, that's a bad transition into my pick. My underrated pick is for sure Air Force. Obviously, an 8-0 team. I'm going to take an 8-0 team every single day of the week. They've been blown by the competition. I think they're a pretty easy shoe-in for the at-large bid. The team looks great. Offense playing really well. I absolutely love this team. And they're under, in my opinion, they're at 25 right now, I believe. They're under some pretty bad teams. Some teams with really no significant wins. And one of those teams with no significant wins, my overrated pick is the Tennessee Volunteers. The Tennessee Volunteers have no business being in the top 25 right now. This team is not a good ball team, in my opinion. If you had shown me them early in the first quarter against Alabama, sure, I'm saying they're good. I'm saying, hey, maybe Tennessee deserves to be there, but absolutely not. And then I get a text from Christian who's watching the show. Look, they've got no significant wins. They have not played well in big games. They've played close with practically every single team in the SEC. When you see, like, they play a really close game with Kentucky, probably, and then you just got, like, Georgia killing them. And obviously Georgia's, a top 4 team, but still, I mean, they're beating them by 28. Tennessee's probably only...
Didn't play Georgia.
Kentucky played Georgia.
Oh, sorry, Tennessee. My bad.
Yeah, no.
Keep
So I think that game is going to tell us a lot. But then just overall, I mean, if you look through their schedule, there's no win to me that is a big statement of like, wow, you know?
Okay.
So to me, I think they definitely should have been lower, if not completely out of the top 25 overall.
I agree with that.
All right, week 9 reactions. We're going to do a quick overview of week 9. Yeah, no, they have played Kentucky.
Georgia.
No, Tennessee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just last
Tennessee
week.
beat
Yeah, and they barely beat them.
Can I say something about that too? I feel that Kentucky would have won that game if it wasn't for missed tackles.
Yeah.
It's a close game. I watched it. Tennessee got by, and I feel like in a lot of their games this season, they've gotten by because of opponents' mistakes. Opponents personally taking down their own team because of missed tackles, missed plays, all of that. So I feel that Kentucky, if they can get that tackling down, they would have won that game.
Yeah. All right, quick overview of week 9. Obviously, biggest upset. Kansas beats Oklahoma University. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really bad loss for Oklahoma. Kansas had a backup quarterback, and I think his name is Jason Bean. So Jason Bean beats you, and you're on the road at Kansas. Really tough environment. I think the stadium was a quarter full. And then Kansas had a 4th and 6 at midfield, down 6 with 2 minutes left. Oklahoma doesn't get a stop. And then Dylan Gabriel and Oklahoma don't drive down the field. Well, they do drive down the field, and then they can't convert to win the game. It's a really bad loss for Oklahoma, and it's just not good. You got to pull it out against Kansas. I know it's on the road, but it's Kansas. Like, I really don't care. I think the Big 12 is overrated. I think this is going to continue to show as Oklahoma goes throughout the rest of the season. I think Texas is also being overrated because of that Alabama win. And it's not looking good for Oklahoma. I really don't know who's going to win the Big 12 at this point, and I don't think that a Big 12 team will make the college football playoff this year.
I can agree with you on that. Big 12, I thought would be an impressive conference at the start of the year, but yet again has let me down. This Oklahoma-Kansas game was just straight out sloppy. Dylan Gabriel and Jason Bean, both no passing touchdowns, both had 1 interception and 2 interceptions. Very sloppy game. Came down to the wire. Oklahoma actually got the stop against Kansas under 2 minutes. However, Oklahoma went 4 and out, and Kansas was able to drive and win this game. Just all around a really disappointing game, and just shows the weakness of the Big 12 overall.
Yeah. I think I can agree with most of what you guys are saying, but I do not appreciate the Texas slander. Texas is actually still one of my favorites to make it into the college football playoff. And speaking of Texas, blowout win over BYU. Now, obviously, BYU not the best team in college football right now, but still a brand in college football. Still one that I would consider like a Power 5 level.
Yeah.
It could be in a Power 5 conference.
Mm-hmm.
You win that huge win, backup quarterback. Do we think that Texas has the ability, with possibly Quinn Ewers missing about maybe 3 more weeks, do we think they've got the ability to win the Big 12 championship?
Certainly, yeah. I think that Oklahoma game was really close. And Texas had the go-ahead field goal within 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Oklahoma led a fantastic drive, finished off by a great throw by Gabriel to win the game. And yeah, I think easily Texas can beat Oklahoma, win the Big 12. It will be Texas-Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a great game again. But certainly I think Texas has the firepower to do it. And yeah, they're right there with Oklahoma. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. However, your take on Texas-Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. Oklahoma State, big game today against Oklahoma. We'll cover that later in the segment. But I think that could definitely shake up the Big 12 race. Now, however, the only team I do see making that Big 12 championship making the college football playoff, if any, is Texas. I feel like even if it is a Texas-Oklahoma rematch, Texas will get it done.
Yeah, I think that Bama win really helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the run game down in Texas. Defense as well played very well. Obviously, holding a pretty good, a serviceable football team. 6 points is pretty impressive. All right, we're just gonna skim over the next couple games just so we can get things moving a little faster. Oregon, huge 29-point win again, also over Utah, ranked team. Utah showing a lot of weakness there. and Oregon just showing why, in my opinion, they should be a college football playoff team.
Yeah.
Bo Nix, the old man, is playing at the top of his game right now. I absolutely love this Oregon team. Then we're going to go over to Louisville over Duke. Not much to say here except a good old-fashioned Louisville beatdown
Yeah,
over Duke. 23-point victory. Colin, tell us a little bit about this real quick.
Jawar Jordan for Heisman. No, I'm just totally playing, but Jawar Jordan had another great week. I feel like this team really rallies around him. Over 150 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, all from 20 yards plus. He's a huge playmaker. This Louisville team is top 10 in the nation in explosive plays in games, which are 25 yards and over. I feel like if this Louisville team had Jawar Jordan during the Pitt game, which they did not, Jack Plummer would not have been throwing for over 50 yards, and I feel like we would be looking at a different Louisville team, an 8-0 Louisville team. But definitely if Jawar Jordan stays healthy, stays off his Achilles, which has been giving him problems, of course, trying not to be biased, but I think this Louisville team has big things in the rest of this season.
Well, yeah, I think you couple that with the Georgia Tech upset over UNC, and I think they've solidified themselves as the second best team in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
UNC has just fallen apart in the last 2 weeks, and then Louisville's shown that they're a better football team than Duke. And the 2 frontrunners in the ACC are Florida State and Louisville by record and by looks at this point in the season.
Yeah. All right. Gonna move on. Got 2 more games. Georgia Tech over UNC. Huge upset win, 46-42. I'm gonna talk about this game really quickly, or talk about primarily Drake May. For me, as more of an NFL guy than college football guy, obviously we'll have Colin host the NFL segment later, and we can talk about that. NFL draft content is going to be insane on the channel. Hope you guys can't wait for that. This is just a bad game overall for Drake May. I think this shows down the stretch, down the wire in the season, you really have to play well. You really got to show something. Got to stand up to just a conference game and you lose.
Yeah.
To a Georgia Tech team who, according to our ACC analyst over here, is not good at all. This is a horrible Georgia Tech team, in my opinion. Not horrible, but not one that a team of UNC's caliber should be losing to. Any other thoughts on this?
I think I will say one thing on this Georgia Tech team. I think it's a very promising team. They have a lot of young talent, and I do think that they will be in the top 6 or in the top 7 of the ACT or ACC in the coming years. A lot of young talent, like I said. Drake May, this tends to be how it goes down for UNC in the past few seasons. Start off strong, start off ranked, everyone's loving them, and then they blow a couple games down the stretch and make a subpar bowl game. Unfortunately, UNC fans out there, it looks like that's the case for this season as well. Though I feel like Drake May still has a promising career in the NFL. I think this guy is a great franchise player. I just don't think he has the talent around him at UNC to be able to get big things done.
Yeah. You got anything on this, Killian, or?
No, kind of what I said earlier, just solidifying a little second best team. And then just UNC was up 11 points in this game with 6 minutes left. 6 or 8 minutes left. And it was a 1-score game, and then Drake May threw a deep bomb. Touchdown to put him up 2 scores. And I turned the game off at that point because I was like, all right, UNC squeaked out of here with a win. And then I wake up the next morning to see the upset. So it's just, the offense scored 42 points, but it's just all around as a team, it's not a good look. You got to squeak out these wins, especially when you're up 2 scores, 8 minutes left. And it's very weird because North Carolina has looked really good the whole season, and these last 2 weeks dropping games to Virginia and Georgia Tech. It's strange, and I don't really know what to say about this team because I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Very strange team.
Yeah. All right. Arizona over Oregon State, 27-24 win. Arizona team who's played very well recently. Young quarterback. I think we just gotta move on past this one though, because we're getting down the wire here to. Oh my goodness. All right. Week 10 picks. First game, Ohio State at Rutgers. Killian.
I mean, I got Ohio State in this one. It'll be a closer game than most people think, but Ohio State will win like they have done all season. So
I do agree. I think this will be a closer game, but Ohio State takes as well.
To me, not much to talk about here. Ohio State, Buckeyes, big win. Kansas State at Texas. I want to talk about this game really quickly because in watching this Texas team, if this was at Kansas State, I think we're talking about a different story. This Kansas State team, very solid one again. Barely lost to Missouri earlier in the year, who's a very solid team in my opinion. But overall, I think Texas, you're going to have about 70,000 people. It's not going to be sold out, but there's still going to be a ton of people in that huge stadium. Afternoon game. The running game should be able to coast them. They should be able to control the clock, play some good defense. I think you're looking at Texas taking this in possibly a surprising 10-plus point victory, in my opinion.
yeah, I think Texas is gonna handle business the other way.
Yep, Texas got this one.
A&M at Ole Miss. For me, I love Jackson Dart in this offense. I think this is actually one of the more solid, well-balanced groups that we've seen in a long time from Lane Kiffin. I really like this team and just really, once again, a disappointing Texas A&M team. I wasn't high on them as possibly others were coming into this year, but for me, this should be a very big Ole Miss victory. Jackson Dart continuing, it may be a sneaky run at the Heisman, in my opinion.
You want this call? I'm gonna go last.
Yeah, agree with you. I mean, I really don't have much to say about this game. I think Ole Miss takes this one, although I think it's another one that is going to be closer than people think. Gillian?
Well, I went last for a reason. I think A&M's going to pull the upset here. It's an 11 o'clock game, so it is early. The crowd's going to be a little bit out of it. But A&M's not a bad football team, you know. They're 5-3. Two of those losses were close game to Alabama. I know that was at A&M, still a good game. And then a loss at Tennessee, but that was by 7, and that was Neyland at night, and Neyland's a great atmosphere. And then Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin is not a disciplined coach, and they drop these games that they should win every year. They do it every year. We look back last year, they started 8-0. I know they lost to quality teams like LSU, but then they lose to teams like Mississippi State. I know it's the Egg Bowl. They lost 2 more games along with that to finish 8-4. And Auburn played them hard last week. They won by 7, and I know it was at Jordan Hare, and the place was rocking, and that definitely did play a factor in the game. But this is a really bad Auburn team, and Ole Miss did not look good in that game. Only 7-point win. I think if they do drop a game, it is this one. And I think it is going to be A&M because Ole Miss does this every year. They drop a game that they shouldn't. So, got A&M.
Yes. What's next game we're picking? Notre Dame Clemson. Me personally, I think Notre Dame will give Clemson an old-fashioned whooping. The spread is only 3.5 points, but I see this game being a 10, even 17-point plus victory for Notre Dame. I think they will get it done at Clemson. Clemson just struggling in close games this year, as Dabo Sweeney said. They are only about 4 plays away from being a 6-2 or better team. However, I disagree with this. I just don't think they have the firepower this year, which is weird. It's weird seeing an ACC conference without a good Clemson team.
Now, to me, this Clemson team is an absolute joke compared to the last few years. I have absolutely zero confidence in them pulling out this game, especially at 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Look, Death Valley to me has not played a factor that it really should have, and they've just gotten a bad draw of games. But overall, this is not a good team. They should not be believing in the quarterback over there. And this is where we introduce our perfect play segment. Now, each week, me, Killian, Colin will be picking one game, player prop, line, that one for the college football and one for the NFL each. And then at the end, we'll have a 6-leg parlay for you guys to pick. So my perfect play for college football this week is Notre Dame's 3-point favorite. They're easily covering this. I think they're going to win by 20 points. If they can beat USC by 28, they should have zero problems handling business at Clemson. Give me that as my perfect play. Killian. What's your take on
Perfect play. We're gonna head over to the Missouri-Georgia game, and I'll talk about this when we get to this game, more about the matchup. But I think Missouri can cover the spread. They're giving them plus 15. I don't think Georgia will beat them by more than 2 touchdowns, so I think this is a good play, and I think Missouri will cover this spread. 15.
Alrighty, my perfect play. This may be a little controversial one, but I think Maryland will cover a 9-point spread against Penn State. This is at Maryland. I really like Tagovailoa. I think this Maryland team is very underrated. Let's look at their past 5 games. They've lost really close ones. Ohio State, they lost by 20 at Ohio State. Understandable. Very hard to play at Ohio State. But big blowout wins against Indiana and Michigan State. I just don't know. Penn State's good. Me personally, I don't see them as a contender. I do think they will win this game, but I think Maryland will keep it tight.
All right, we're going to breeze over these next couple of games. UConn at Tennessee. I've got Tennessee. Killian.
Yeah, easily Tennessee, lock of the week.
Yep, Tennessee.
Not much to talk about there. Arizona State at Utah. Look, Arizona State played a very close game at USC. They seem to have some young talent there brewing, but to me, this is a pretty easy game. Give me Utah.
Yep, Utah.
All right, next one. Army at Air Force. Interesting game, Armed Forces game, but to me, there's one Armed Force that's stronger than the other. Give me Air Force every single day of the week. Let's go 9-0. Let's get that large bid.
Yeah, Air Force. I don't think they'll cover this game. Although Army has made it known that they love to get blown out, 62-0 victory against or loss against LSU. I do think this game will be held within a 10-point margin of victory, but Air Force will get it done.
I think Air Force is going to keep rolling.
All right, we're getting into a more interesting game, and actually, I think I'm going to table this one for the end. I think we should just breeze by some of the easier picks here. Florida State at Pitt. For me, this is Florida State every single day of the week. I think Pitt's a nice little environment, maybe even an underrated one. But in my opinion, you've seen some of the games, especially with like Kenny Pickett back in the day. They had some pretty electric crowds, but it's not going to affect this Pitt team. It's pretty bad.
Yep.
Florida State every single day of the week.
Yep, Florida State. Not much to say. Florida State will win this game.
I know Colin wants to talk about this game, so you know what? I think the next few are worth talking about, but we're going to go up to this one first. Missouri at Georgia.
Oof.
What are you thinking? Colin.
I think Georgia will put Missouri in its place. I think Missouri is a great season. Last year, Missouri gave Georgia a scare. Missouri was winning that game pretty much the entire time in the zoo. However, Georgia did get it done. I think this year it will be similar to the Georgia-Kentucky game. Now, however, I'm not saying that Missouri and Kentucky are similar teams. I think Missouri is a much better team than Kentucky, but I think Georgia is just so hard to beat at home, and I don't see Missouri getting it done against Georgia's defense.
Yeah, Missouri's a good team. Their one loss was to LSU, and it was a 10-point loss, but they threw a pick six in the last minute. So really, they were down 3 with a chance to win. LSU made a play, but they still scored 40 on LSU's defense. I know we got cheesecake defense, but still. And then Missouri, big wins against Kentucky at Kentucky. Say that about Kentucky, but an SC win on the road. It's impressive for Missouri. And then Georgia's not the Georgia years past.
Yeah.
They're still a good Georgia team. But I don't think it's going to be the blowout that everyone's expecting. I think Georgia will still win the game, mainly because it's at Athens, and because they still are a great football team. I think Georgia will win by 10.
Yeah. Look, for me, I mean, it's a different story if you're not talking about one of the best teams playing at home. Georgia, year after year, has proved that if you're going to Athens, you are going to have a bad time. It's extremely tough to play there, and especially when they're fighting basically for the spot in the East right now. I mean, this winner pretty much determines it unless Florida or Tennessee goes on some crazy run. A lot of things happen that I just don't think are going to take place. But, I mean, Missouri kind of playing for their college football playoff lives here, their SEC championship lives. But overall, I think they drop in a close one to Georgia. I'm not in love with this Georgia team, as you guys said. Now we're moving on. Penn State at Maryland. I'm going Penn State.
As you know, this is similar to Gillian's Texas A&M Old Miss pick. However, I don't see I don't see Maryland getting it done. I do think they will cover the spread, but I think Penn State will win this game ultimately. It's going to be a fun one. Going to be a fun game for the Terps. I think program definitely is looking more promising, and I think they're definitely moving in the right direction to be a contender in future years in the Big Ten.
All right. Next game, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. I'm going Oklahoma State. Although Oklahoma really does need to bounce back here, they just really get a bad draw right after this upset loss. Dylan Gabriel, I think, is going to struggle against the away crowd at Oklahoma State. Although I still do believe that he is a good quarterback. I just think that they're just not going to be able to get it done.
Yeah. I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I think Oklahoma will bounce back. I think they will get it done. Oklahoma State's looking great, though. The rush game's looking great. I definitely think their running back is severely underrated. 2 games in a row, 250 yards rushing. Really impressive. I just think Oklahoma is going to get this one done.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, really bad loss last week against Kansas. And then I think Oklahoma State is going to be fired up more. First of all, because it is at home. Second of all, it is the 118th Bedlam, and it's the last regularly scheduled one because Oklahoma is leaving for the SEC. I think Oklahoma State's crowd is going to be fired up. They're going to be upset at Oklahoma for leaving them, first of all. And then I think Oklahoma State will get the dub because they got the momentum.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about a few more of the just more important games here coming down the stretch. Next, probably the next most important one is Washington at USC. Look, this Washington team, these two teams have looked very shaky, but for me, this has to be a statement game for Caleb Williams, the guy who's going to be the number 1 pick probably out of college. Assuming everything goes to plan, I think this is a huge game for him. Look, it's going to be an absolute shootout between him and Penix, but overall, I think USC pulls this one out in an away game.
Yeah, I mean, Washington looked shaky last week against Stanford. Stanford had a chance to win the game. They dropped a 4th down, and then Washington scored a garbage time touchdown to make it a 2-touchdown win. But Washington's looked shaky. They, easily could have dropped that game against Stanford. And then the Oregon game, they won by 3. Oregon makes a couple mistakes in that game. UC has looked good. Their 2 losses were to a great Utah team, and then I forgot their other loss. But UC looks good. It's at USC. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a bounce back game. And yeah, I think USC is going to pull the upset.
I'm going to have to disagree with both of you on this. I think Penix will run all over this USC defense. I do think that USC has one of the worst defenses in the Pac-12, which has been just a sign of the Pac-12, unfortunately, in its last season, is that Pac-12 defenses are not great. I think Washington will get it done, and USC will grab their 3rd loss of the season in this one.
Yep. LSU at Alabama, huge game here. In my opinion, though, I love this Alabama defense. I like how the Alabama offense has gotten into a little bit of a rhythm here. It is so hard to play at Bryant-Denny when Nick Saban has his team bought in and them on the roll. Give me Jalen Milroe and the boys. Give me the W. Alabama, roll tide.
Yeah, I think the second half of the Tennessee game really showed for Alabama. Really just showcasing that they had the ability to bounce back, get a big win at home. And this LSU team's been rolling on offense. They have been all year. But this LSU defense, like I said earlier, has been really, really bad. Alabama's a good football team. I think they will get the win here. As much as that pains me to say, I think Alabama will win this game.
Yeah, Alabama, same reason. So hard to play at Alabama. Not discredit this LSU team in any way. I think it's a very good team, but Alabama will get it done tonight.
All right, and last one. I just want to talk about this one real quick. I have an upset for my last pick of the day. Oregon State at Colorado. I'm taking Coach Prime and the boys. I think they definitely have something to prove here. I think they should be able to call in some more play action to get Shedeur out of the pocket. possibly make things out of this really bad O-line. Travis Hunter's played out of his mind the past few games. You guys definitely had to have seen the 2 interceptions in the Cal game. They've got a lot to prove. Oregon State coming into a night game at a very, what has become a very hard place to play in Colorado.
Yeah, sold out.
It's going to be sold out
Yeah.
again. Give me Coach Prime in a very close game over Oregon State.
Yeah, I think Oregon State bounced back and wins, but I agree with Russell. I think it's going to be a really good game at night, and I'm excited for it.
Good game. I do see Colorado going up early in this one, definitely making a statement. I could even see them being up by a good 2-3 scores at halftime. However, I don't think in the second half they will get it done. I think Oregon State wins this. I think Travis Hunter goes for an interception again. Definitely looking like one of the best corners in the league, if not the best corner in the league. 2 interceptions against UCLA. He's got big things coming for him in his career.
All right, we're going to switch over to my area of expertise. We're going to start talking about some NFL football hosted by Colin Adams.
Yep.
Colin, let's get into our week 8 review.
Yeah, so first game, really a standout one. The Broncos and the Chiefs. Broncos getting it done, 24-9. Bounce back from allowing 70 points. 70 points against the Dolphins. Opinions on this, boys?
Look, this Chiefs game was bad. Especially, just what a horrendous loss in my opinion. But Russell Wilson, I think, is actually having a really good season very quietly. He's been one of the more efficient quarterbacks, surprisingly, which was just not the case last year. Not enough people are talking about it. And Mahomes has thrown too many picks. I think they're definitely missing Eric Bieniemy, but I'm not reading into this one too much. It was snow pretty early in the year. I don't think they were prepared for that. I think this was all just them losing the mental battle, and I think they should be able to bounce back pretty easily. I don't think we should be concerned about Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're still my Super Bowl favorites.
No, yeah, I agree with that. This was a weird game. I tuned it late because it wasn't a nationally broadcast game, so I didn't watch any of it. But I feel like every team in the NFL has had a game like this, a weird loss. And the Chiefs are 6-2, and their first loss was Week 1, 1-point loss without Chris Jones or Travis Kelce. Easily could have won if they both played. So basically, this is a Chiefs only full strength loss. And every team's had a game like this. They just had a bad day.
Yeah. That's why you play any given
They
Sunday.
just had a bad day, and not concerned about the Chiefs. They'll get right back to it this week.
Yep, definitely. Wilson looked great in that game, 12 for 19, 3 touchdowns. Shout out to the Broncos. Good win, but I agree. I don't think it shows much about weakness or anything with the Chiefs. Going off of that, Titans, big win against Falcons. Levis throws for 4 touchdowns. And then a weird Thursday night loss to the Steelers, 20-16. Any opinions, thoughts?
Look, for me, Levis was electric in the debut. But let's be honest here. He barely completed over about 50% of his passes. He's still in the low 60s range, and he's a young guy. He's adjusting to playing in the big spotlights. I think a lot of it was just Hopkins being open in that first game, but that's not to discredit him. I think we saw him against a much stronger Pittsburgh defense kind of falter into that 50% range where I think he's going to, 50% completion range for the rest of the season where I think he's going to fall. Just did not look good against some coverages and some blitzes. For me right now, he does not have the touch to truly run an offense. I love the arm, love the deep ball, but his ball placement definitely has to improve, especially when we're seeing much better ball placement, especially from Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, his 2 other rookie counterparts. Killian, what do you think about Will Levis?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you, Russell. I think he's been very impressive through the first 2 starts. Obviously against Falcons, 4 touchdowns?
4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns.
Yeah. 4 touchdowns.
I know it's a less than stellar Falcons defense, but this Falcons defense did bottle up C.J. Stroud when they played. So for rookie comparison. And then this Steelers game, I really feel like people are discrediting the Steelers defense. This team has won the last 4 games, if you include the Titans game, and they held the Ravens to 10 points with Lamar Jackson playing. They lost the Jags the week before. But they are 5-3. I think they're a really good team, and people are really discrediting this defense. And the Titans still played a really good game, only a 4-point loss. But yeah, at home in Pittsburgh with a great D. I think Levis is fine. He's gonna get figured out, and he's showing flashes. So
Something we talked about though earlier in the week, definitely through little conversations, that we all believed that Levis would have a game to kind of put him in his place. I mean, 4 touchdowns is pretty impressive in a debut, but for a guy to consistently keep those numbers up, especially on a Thursday night game on the road, is very tough.
Yeah.
And now last big thing we'll talk about, Kirk Cousins leaving the Vikings game. Vikings get it done against the Packers, and he throws for 2 touchdowns, but leaving with an injury, season ending. What do we think?
Yeah, we've already covered on this a little bit. This is just a huge loss for a Vikings team that I really feel like was starting to put the pieces together. Could have possibly made a run at the wild card spot. For me, they've got the rookie coming in. I, just don't really love that. I'm hoping they play well for the sake of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is, at this point, especially at the quarterback, he's one of my favorite players in the league. But Jaron Hall, quarterback, I believe, out of BYU last year, when I watched him on film, he just was not my favorite guy. He's a mobile guy, so maybe he'll be able to create some stuff with his feet. But to me, it's just not going to be the case. I think they'll start winning a couple games once you get Josh Dobbs in there. But overall, just really disappointing, really sad to see a guy late in his career have an injury like this.
yeah, I think the Vikings are done for the season.
Okay, on that note, let's get into some picks this week. First off, 12 p.m. noontime game tomorrow on CBS, Seahawks and the Ravens. Who we got?
Seahawks, Ravens. When we're talking about this one, I really like the Seahawks in this game, if I'm being honest. Look, Lamar's played well, but I think Geno and the boys are really kind of on a roll right now. I think their game last week, I was able to watch a bit of it, just was not very impressive. Look, if Geno can really get the run game going, sprinkle in a few passes to what should be a healthier DK Metcalf this week, and then obviously with their trade additions here, they've got a little bit more beef in the middle. They just recently traded for, I believe, really should know this if we're going to do the show. Leonard Williams, right? Was that the recent trade? Yeah, the hell am I talking about? Yes, Leonard Williams and the Vikings. That's a huge trade for them. Big boost to the D-line.
Yep.
I think the Ravens are going to come down a little bit this week.
Yeah, definitely. Killian?
Yeah, I got the Ravens in this one. They've just been playing this all season, and you saw. I know they only have 2 losses. One of them was to a great Pittsburgh defense by 7. But the Ravens do this. They're gonna have a good record this year. They already do. I think they'll get a close win against the Seahawks.
Yeah, obviously, being a Ravens supporter myself, I see the Ravens getting this one done. I think this is going to be a very exciting matchup. I even see the Ravens covering in this one. 6-point favorites, I think that's a pretty easy cover for them. Next, Dolphins and Chiefs. Who we got? This is a pretty interesting one.
In Germany, of course. I really like the Chiefs in this matchup. Everyone's really high on the Dolphins right now. Dolphins fans that I know are talking to me like they've already won the Super Bowl. Look, Tua Tagovailoa is not as good as everyone thinks he is. They have not played a significant secondary, in my opinion. And look, this Chiefs defense has quietly been one of the better ones this season. Obviously you're gonna say, oh well, they just lost. They just gave up 24 points to the Broncos last week, right? Well, yeah, that's because Mahomes couldn't get it going. But again, with Mahomes, we're talking about probably the most talented quarterback in the entire league. We're going to talk a little bit more about Mahomes later in the episode. But, yeah, absolutely love the Chiefs in this game, even to me by 2 scores.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs in this game. And I think it's more so the weaknesses of the Dolphins and the strengths of the Chiefs. I mean, obviously, the Chiefs are a great football team. But the Dolphins they beat up on bad teams, and they just can't pull out the big games. And their 2 losses this season are the 2 games that really matter for them, which was the Eagles Sunday night a couple weeks ago. And then before that, they lost by 28 to the Bills. So I think the 2 really important games that have mattered against 2 great football teams they lost. So I don't think they will beat the Chiefs. And yeah, I just think they are an overrated football team that cannot be good opponents.
Yeah. Now let's skip down a little bit. Talked about the Vikings a bit. Still quarterback questions. They're going into the Falcons this week. Both 4-4 teams. Little interesting matchup, but for me, this one's a pretty simple one. Who we got?
No, Jaron Hall, I don't think is going to be able to get it done, and they don't really have a run game for me to lean on. Give me the Falcons in this one pretty easily.
Yeah, I got the Falcons too, and just because Cubs is out.
Yeah.
That's basically all I need to say.
Falcons in this one too. Also forgot to mention my pick for the last one, Dolphins Chiefs. Chiefs get it done. Okay.
Shout out Taylor Heineke, Panthers legend.
Yeah.
Love Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, there you go. Russell, this one's thrown in especially for you. Colts and Panthers.
Colts Panthers. Lock of the week is Panthers over 2.5. Bryce Young played an absolutely insane game last week. I am in love with this Panthers team. Not with the team. I'm in love with Bryce Young. Obviously, in my opinion, he fully deserved the number 1 pick. This Colts defense has been far from good. 2.5 point spread here. I think the Panthers are going to take this. Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders are splitting carries in this game too, which I think is going to be a more interesting look. Possibly get Miles Sanders outside a little bit more, maybe a couple more passes to him. But for me, Panthers are going to win this game. Excited.
Yeah, I got the Colts. Colts are a solid football team. Panthers are not. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Russell, for a rare time, I'm gonna have to go with the Panthers on this one.
Right.
I think Bryce Young looked impressive. Yeah, plus 2.5 point spread. It's a close one. I think the Panthers will get it done in a non-exciting nail biter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a money line pick too. That my lock is the money line, not the point spread.
Yep.
Very sorry about that.
Okay, Gillian. Cowboys at the Eagles. Cowboys going to Philadelphia 5-2. Eagles 7-1. Both Super Bowl contenders. Who we got?
I mean, I got the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like, Cowboys have proven this all year. For the last 5 years, they can't beat the teams they need to beat.
Yeah.
And they got blown out by the Niners. I think the Eagles are going to beat them handily at home, at night, at Philly. And the crowd's going to be riled up. They already are riled up because we're playing the Cowboys, and then also coming off the back of Philly's disappointments. The crowd's going to be going nuts. I think we had a great game last week pulling out against the Commanders. Probably would have liked to won by more, but I think it really showed a lot for the team. And then, I just don't think the Cowboys are going to get it done because they haven't. They haven't proven it to me in the past.
Look, I'm taking the Cowboys in this only because I think Nick Sirianni has done a bad job of instilling that hate for the Cowboys. I talked to you about this earlier in the day. I saw a clip on this, and the more that I thought about it, I mean, you think about guys like Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott who have openly expressed that they just hate playing against the Eagles. It's going to be a very tough crowd. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I think they're going to be able to balance it out with Tony Pollard way more in this game. I think they just need to give him carries in bigger scenarios. And I don't think the Eagles' defense is going to be able to, or especially the secondary is going to be able to adjust to Prescott, who's coming off a couple good games. Look, I know they haven't gotten the big wins necessarily this year, but if I'm the Cowboys, I know I got to have this one for the rest of the year. Give it to boys.
Yeah, Cowboys got to get this one, but I'm with the Greens and Killian. They can't get it done when they need to get it done. I mean, 32-point loss at San Francisco. Large loss to Arizona. I don't see the Cowboys winning this one. Give me the Eagles. And then our last game of the week that we will be picking, Bills at Bengals. Last year, this one was much higher stakes. This year, who we got?
Well, Bills been up and down all season, and Bengals, after a slow start, have found their way in the last couple weeks. I think the Bengals win this game. Burrow and Chase and the offense getting back on track, and they beat the Niners, one of the best defenses in the league. Bills certainly do not have a Niners caliber defense. It's going to be a shootout. I think the Bengals are going to win, though.
Absolutely. I just think Josh Allen is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league. I think he's going to turn it over in this game, per usual. And Joe Burrow is playing at the top of his game, which means that Joe Mixon is playing at the top of his game. I really love that balance when they're both getting going. And especially in Cincinnati, give me the Bengals every single day of the week.
I got the Bills in this one. not much to say. To be honest, I've not gotten a chance to watch the Bengals nor the Bills much this season, but I got the Bills in this one. And with that being said, I go back on what I said. I think we're going to do one more pick. Monday Night Football, Chargers at Jets. Interesting game. Jets pass game been looking very good, and the Chargers pass defense has not been looking good. Who do we got in this one?
I think we got the Chargers. Jets defense been looking solid, but I just don't think their offense is enough to keep up with the Chargers. Firepower. Chargers got a good win last week. I know they played the Bears, but I think Chargers will get the win.
This game for me is going to seal their head coach Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley's fate. I absolutely hate when he does with this offense. He completely limits their weapons, and he's going to do it again against an elite Jets defense. I think Zach Wilson and Breece Hall have just been good enough to get them some wins here. Look, they played a really bad game against the Giants last week, but I just do not think the Chargers really have what it takes, especially without J.C. Jackson, who was traded to the Patriots recently.
Yeah.
I think Zach Wilson, I'm surprised me even saying this, is going to be able to take advantage of some mismatches. So yeah, give me the Jets in this one.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because, like I mentioned, with the Jets' pass offense versus the Chargers' awful passing defense, I think Chargers. I think just Herbert's going to get this one done. I don't see Zach Wilson being able to take advantage of those matchups. I mean, 5 touchdowns for 5 interceptions on the season. In reality, the Jets could get this one, but I am taking the Chargers. And on a note of quarterbacks, this takes us to our Take a Stand segment of the week. Now, we're going to be doing this each weekend. Segment, basically a question to get some conversations going. Hypotheticals could be what we're thinking. This week, pretty interesting question. Top 5 quarterbacks in 5 years in the NFL.
All right, I guess I'll start us off. I'll go 5 up. Or should we go 1 down, 5 up?
All right.
What are we thinking?
We should go.
One down.
1 down?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty obvious. The best quarterback of all time, Patrick Mahomes. He might not be right now, but he will go down as the best quarterback of all time. He's number 1. I don't really have to say that much about it. He's Patrick Mahomes. And then number 2, I'm going to put Joe Burrow. His career's on an uptrend. He's shown that he has the ability to win big games. I think this year was really important after the slow start, seeing if maybe it was a fluke these last 2 years. Maybe they got a little lucky in big games. But I think how they've responded in the last couple weeks, getting back to 4-3, getting a big win against the Niners, I think Burrow's going to continue to do what he does. I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm wearing his jersey right now. And so, yeah, I think he will be second best quarterback in 5 years. And then number 3 is probably my most controversial take on this list. I'm going to put Trevor Lawrence. He had a great year last year. Led the Chargers to a playoff win led the Jaguars to a playoff win against the Chargers. He had a great year. I know he struggled in his first year, but he was Urban Meyer. His coach was Urban Meyer, which is not a great look. We saw that because Urban Meyer got fired. Yeah, so I think Trevor Lawrence is going to continue to succeed, and I think he'll be the 3rd best quarterback in 5 years. And then number 4, I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I think he's just a solid quarterback. He's going to continue to play well. I think he's better than 4 right now. I know on NFL power rankings he's the best quarterback in the league. I don't think that's true. I think Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league. But I think he'll stay top 5 the next 5 years. I think he'll be around 4. And then number 5, I got Justin Herbert. I could easily see Herbert being over Hurts or Lawrence in 5 years. I just don't think it's going to happen. But Herbert's a great player, and he's putting up numbers with the Chargers. He will continue to do so, and I think he will solidify himself as 5th best quarterback in the league in 5 years.
All right, we're going to transition over to my list. My honorable mentions here are C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Josh Allen. Josh Allen's obviously one of the more established guys, but I don't think that his athletic style of play is going to translate later into his career, especially 5 years down the line. We've seen it with guys like Cam Newton. Obviously, I think he's got a little bit more of an arm talent than Cam Newton was, especially if you take away all the surgeries and whatnot. I could go on for hours about that. But for me, these three guys I believe are going to be like elite talents, especially Anthony Richardson. I think we're looking at an elevated version of Josh Allen there. But yeah, three really amazing guys. 1 and 2, Mahomes, Burrow. Not much to say there. Although I will disagree with your take about Mahomes being the best quarterback of all time or going to be the best quarterback of all time. I think the beginning of the season has definitely showed me that he definitely has more weakness in his game than Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady will remain the GOAT. I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be tossing 40 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions that 5 years down the road like a guy like Brady can. But, I mean, hey, great second choice.
Chiefs are 6-2.
My number 3, there's going to be a lot of bias here. But if you go and watch the tape, it is clear that Bryce Young will be the third best quarterback in the league at this point. When I look at him, I'm looking at the next Drew Brees. Go to the QB school. Watch him. Best YouTube channel on football on the planet. QB school. Go watch the tape. When you look at this is Bryce Young who's working with absolutely nothing on offense and is winning. It proved that he can win a football game. He has one of the worst pass blocking O-lines I've ever seen in my entire life. Ikem Ekwonu, our left tackle, has no clue what he's doing. Adam Thielen, who is slow and old, is his number 1 receiver right now. And Chark has played really badly. Mingo has played pretty badly. He has missed only 1 open target the entire year as a rookie quarterback, which is insane, as of last week. I don't know about the last game, but he's only missed 1 open target, probably because he hasn't had many. He's only had 96 as of last week. And really, it's the accuracy, it's the poise, it's the arm talent, it's the pocket feel, it's the legs, the athleticism. I love everything about Bryce Young, and I think give him more talent here in Carolina. I think he's going to be a Panther for life. We're going to see a very, very dangerous quarterback. The guy's going to tear up the league. 4 is Trevor Lawrence. I actually really like the Killings pick. To me, he's super talented, having a good year this year. O-line there is really good. I would like to see him with like a true number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be actually really exciting and really elevate his game.
Who's number 1? Christian Kirk still?
Yeah, Kirk is probably their number 1, and obviously they've got Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones. Those are like 3 guys who are really solid number 2s. But
Solid.
you know, if you give him an AJ Brown, a Justin Jefferson, or even someone like a DK Metcalf, he could do beautiful things. Jalen Hurts at 5. Hurts is a really great quarterback. I like his athletic style of play. I do think he's pretty interchangeable though with the honorable mentions. He's obviously playing under one of the best offenses, so I want to see how his career goes down the stretch. And I have him kind of tied with Justin Herbert at this spot. Herbert's playing in this elite offense, but I'd like to see him with some different play calling. Because if the numbers right now with Brandon Staley are this good, I can only imagine them being what they're going to be like later.
Yeah, definitely. I think your lists are spot on. I'm going to run through mine very quickly as we are getting very low on time. Honorable mentions, Trevor Lawrence. I really liked what you guys said. I think he's a very talented quarterback. If he gets some star power wide receivers around him, I think we could be seeing very similar days to their championship team at Clemson. Another guy. This guy has not seen the NFL yet. Usually I would not throw in a player who has not yet stepped into the NFL, but Drake May. I feel like depending on the franchise he gets drafted to, he could do big things. And I think it'll be a very different atmosphere than what he has now in North Carolina. Number 1, we're going 1 through 5, correct? Mahomes, I mean, not much to say. I agree with Killian. He will go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen in the NFL. Second, Joe Burrow, really great guy, doing great things. Third, Jalen Hurts. Eagles are looking great. He's looking great with the Eagles. For Justin Herbert, I like what he's doing at the Chargers. Another great season under his belt, like I mentioned earlier. 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Really playing well. It's just if the Chargers can make good offseason moves, then I believe that he can solidify that 4th spot. Number 5, similar to Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa. Just shows how if you give a guy star power wide receivers such as Tyreek Hill, they can get it done, and the Dolphins are looking great. Now, I don't see Tua anywhere near this spot if the Dolphins make changes or he changes somewhere else, because I feel like he needs those star wide receivers to perform well. So yeah, that is our top 5 quarterbacks in 5 years. Any other notes, boys?
No, I think that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for dealing with the technical issues. I think we're gonna be bringing you guys a much more high quality and elevated version of the podcast now that we've gotten our first episode under our belt. We're gonna be bringing this to you guys every Saturday at 10 a.m. sharp.
10 a.m.
We
10.
promise.
Yep,
See if you
10
guys
a.m.
can get those games in. But of course, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Peace.